So yesterday, folks, maybe not a surprise to anyone, Prime Minister Holness announced the appointments of Fayval Williams as the new finance minister. Well, that was the part that I think would not be a surprise. I don't know if Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon would have been surprised that she's now in charge of the education ministry. But political commentator Sandra Roden weighs in on the latest appointments. Morning. Good to see you, my friend.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Before we get to where we are, recap Dr. Clark's tenure.
Well, Dr. Clark had, I would say, a stellar tenure. He had about 6 years plus at the wicket as Minister of Finance. It was unexpected by many to see the movements of the Prime Minister back in the day when, reshuffling the cabinet, putting Audley Shine another ministry, but he, took the ministry by the bullhorns and they continued on the fiscal responsibility program. Now we've seen debt to GDP fall under 100, fall under 90, fall under 80, and that says a lot. That's a big statement. We've seen the reserves of the country go up to as much as 5 billion, and that says a lot as well. We see where the BOJ is now outside of government. They've ensure that systems have been put in place to ensure governance. Now, what a lot of people would appreciate, including the opposition, is that Dr. Nigel Clark is the czar of governance. A lot of the policies he'd implement helped governance. So where people will say, politicians are corrupt, if you look at what Nigel Clark has done, he's even put out something for public sector boards where he's created a system where you can, as a normal citizen, you can send in your application and then you can be selected, which means that...
An objective process.
An objective process, which means that less politicians get to just go in and say, this is who I want, which has been the case over the years. So looking at all those things, the fiscal management, the COVID management, that's a major thing as well. And then he always comes with goodies, and most importantly, no new taxes. I know a lot of us are grateful for that because we're used to being taxed in every budget. So he's done a good job. He's left a legacy, and boy, it's good to see that a politician, we can be talking about a politician leaving the politics and say, boy, I can see his legacy.
The income tax threshold is another big
Yes, the income tax threshold.
Raising it. So with this announcement now, very straight question. Good appointment?
Yeah, it's a good appointment. It's an expected appointment because, the Constitution has it that the Minister of Finance should be in the lower house. The pundits and the persons who are, assuming or saying that the Prime Minister would take it on and then put somebody in the Senate and appoint them as Minister without portfolio, etc. But he didn't quite do that, and he explained why. He explained that, frankly speaking, he doesn't want to take on that responsibility right now. But why Fayval? Why good appointment? She is the most qualified person as it relates to finance and economics. She has BSc in economics, chartered financial analyst. She has all the qualifications. She's worked in multiple investment banks in the US, in Jamaica, at JMMB at some point. She's led that. She's handled billions of dollars in private. So,
There's a word that people use to describe people sometimes, charisma. And some people would say Dr. Clark is charismatic, and some people might think that Mrs. Williams isn't. Does that mean anything to anyone?
Definitely, it means a lot. As I was saying earlier, Dr. Clark, he brought this charisma to the Ministry of Finance. Everybody thought he was boring. Even the Prime Minister, when he was giving his tribute, said, boy, he saw him transform and bring abacus in Parliament. One year he brought a thing rolling out all the taxes that the PMP would have imposed over the years. And that is him tapping into his political side. Maybe he wasn't an underground man we expect to see every day in a constituency, at every conference talking. But when he got into the political theatrics, even when he went, I think, last year on a JLP's platform, he was really good. His political speech, he went up. Frankly speaking, I think he was one of the best speakers in the government when it came on to political speech. That's important. Charisma is important because normally people see finance as the boring job. Nobody now listen. But listen, I watch budget presentation. I know a lot of us just sit down and listen to budget presentation because of Nigel. Now, Minister Williams, she doesn't have that type of charisma. So she has the accolade, she has the experience, but she doesn't have that type of charisma. Will it matter? Maybe not, but to some people it will, in the premise that with that charisma, there's a exertion of confidence that people like to feel, even if it doesn't matter that, hey, you're doing really well on the back end.
Perception is everything.
Perception is everything, especially in politics.
On that note, if she's perceived as doing well, sans the charisma, then job done.
I agree.
Well done.
I agree with you because I don't think that the charisma really precludes her from doing what she has to do. And I think she'll do really well. She was Minister of State there. She was Minister without portfolio. So this is not a brand new system. She understands the system. She had an office there. She knows the running. So she should be fine. So if she's doing well and the announcement come out with her face, maybe not her announcing, but comes out with her face that, hey, we're going to do this major thing, I think people would still be appreciative. It's just that it's not a, policy pushed in Parliament the way how Nigel would come in and just push a policy and you're like, yes, this is what I like to hear from a Minister of Finance. Okay. Yeah? You're like, this is what the Minister of Finance is doing and I like it. Yeah. That's what you'll say instead.
We don't have a lot of time. New Education Minister, your thoughts?
Oh, I expected it, actually, because I anticipated that the Prime Minister would have to move Minister Williams. And when you looked at it, Minister Dana Morris-Dixon, I thought politically, from a perception perspective, I thought she'd be good. Why? New face, nice voice, and people like that energy, people like that in education. As he said, Minister Williams wasn't bringing that charisma to education and youth. So maybe she was doing a good job and we don't think she was because she doesn't have that charisma. I'm not saying we don't. I'm saying maybe people out there think she doesn't. And that's what people complain about, her not having charisma. Now, Dana Morris-Dixon, she has been Minister of Information. She has been talking with the media. You see that she can communicate well. I thought it was an easy pick for the Prime Minister because what he did was just amalgamate that skills portfolio with education, youth and information, and we're used to education, youth and information being in one ministry. So that was kind of that amalgamation that I expected. I think it's a good pick as well, but I want to see if she can, continue the legacy of what Minister Williams would have been building on, because she has been doing some work there that a lot of people might call it silent work, but important work to transform education.
Okay. Good enough.
Yes.
Good enough. Good to see you.
Thanks for being with us.
Good to see you, brother.
That's political commentator Sandre Roden. Still to come, 10 minutes to your health. Stay with us on Smile.